What's up, you big beautiful nerds? This is Cheshire. We're going to do Purphoros, Bronze-Blooded. This legendary creature enchantment god for 4 colors and 1 red is a snack attack. Yeah, you heard me, snack attack, not sneak attack, because I'm kind of hungry, what? It's indestructible, and as long as your devotion to red is less than 5, Purphoros isn't actually a creature. Other creatures you control have haste, giving them complete and utter zoomies. For 1 red and 2 colors, you can put a red creature card or an artifact creature card from your hand onto the battlefield and sacrifice it at the beginning of your next end step. It puts big dumb things into play real quick and turns them sideways to kill people. Great, now that we've got that sorted, we need to look at how we're going to ramp out that 5 converted mana cost. We have a ruby medallion for 2 all red spells that we cast, cost 1 less to cast. We've got a soul ring for 1 colors, adds 2 colors to our mana pool. We've got an arcane signet for 2, provides 1 mana. I know, but I just cracked a brawl deck, so why not? We've got Mindstone, because Mindstone taps for a single colorless mana, and later on in the game, you can actually sacrifice it for a single colorless mana to draw a card. Braldric Banner is pretty actually kind of average in this deck, but still good, I guess, because you just choose red, right? Because you're playing a mono red deck. 3 colors for an artifact. Creatures you control the chosen color get +1/+0, tap and add 1 mana of the chosen color. We have Nyx Lotus because, hey, look, it's a monocolored deck. Why wouldn't we play the Tap Lotus? Sure, it comes into play tapped, but your devotion's going to be really huge at some point, so you're going to add a whole lot of mana and play a whole lot of stupid big stuff. Lotus Field, because it's shiny and foily, and this, again, is a mono red deck. So a mono deck means that we can play a mono land and ramp out for that extra mana. We have Poetic Ritual just to try and help our getting to a turn early to our Purphoros, the Bronze-Blooded. Sailing Song, much the same way. 3 mana, add 5, all of a sudden you have Snack Attack. Ironcrag Feet, 4 mana, add 7, and all of a sudden you have a Snack Attack. Runaway Steamkin, because you're going to be casting some spells now and again rather than just putting stuff onto the battlefield. You're probably going to be able to use this to ramp a little bit. It's a flex spot. You can just throw that out. Mana Flare, this helps everyone, but you know what? Mine's pretty. It's 2 colors and a red. Whenever either, pretty much any player, taps a land for mana, each land produces 1 extra mana of the appropriate type. We, of course, have Fires of Invention because we don't have a whole lot of interaction in our big red stompy, so we don't care about not being able to play stuff during our opponent's turn, and considering that we're going to be able to sneak attack a bunch of creatures in, free mana. Dockside Extortionist, this is 1 red and 1 colors for a Goblin Pirate, 1/2, and when the Extortionist enters the battlefield, create X treasure tokens where X is the number of artifacts and enchantments your opponents control. Can net you quite a large pool of fun treasure. Treasure Nabber, I know, right? It just seems like a weird theme because the goblins and the nabbing of the treasure and the treasures. 2 colors and 1 red for a Goblin Rogue 3/2. Whenever an opponent taps an artifact for mana, you gain that artifact until the end of turn. It's basically like says mine. Next up, we need to draw some cards. So, we're going to be playing 1 copy of Tormenting Voice. We can discard a card and then draw 2 cards. Thrill of Possibility, much the same. We discard a card and draw 2 cards. Faithless Looting for 1 red. We draw 2 cards and then we discard 2 cards, which is fine and not really. It's more looting than card draw, I guess, because it doesn't add to your hand. We've got an Endless Atlas. 2 tap, draw a card, activate only if you control 3 or more lands of the same name. You're in a mono red deck. The odds are you're going to have 3 lands of the same. Big dumb stupid Gearhawk Boy. Okay, so you're either going to be drawing cards or your opponent's going to be taking a heck of a lot of damage to the face, like a million, because it's big and it's stupid, and everything we play in the deck is big and stupid, so congratulations. Bedlam Reveler, this is a flex spot, but we put it in here just so that we can maybe draw some cards in the late game if we need to, or something, I don't know. The fact that it has prowess doesn't really matter, but we have enough wheels that, it probably can matter a little bit. Dragon Mage. This big, fat, stupid dragon is a 5/5 for 7 mana, which sounds horrible for a flyer, but it's a wizard, and that's kind of cool, I guess. Whenever the mage deals combat damage to a player, each player then discards their hand and draws 7 cards. Refill, we have Chandra Flamecaller. Now, you could use the +1 and put 2 3/1 red elemental creature tokens into play and smack somebody in the face if you really want to, or you can just use it to use her to discard all the cards in your hand and then draw that many cards. +1. That's actually kind of relevant. The -X, Chandra Flamecaller deals X damage to each creature. Wheel of Fortune. These aren't cheap. This isn't a budget deck. 2 colors and 1 red. All players must discard their hands and then draw 7 cards. I'm only playing it because it's a wheel and because I'm playing mono red and I now have a copy, so why not? Magus of the Wheel. Just all those wheels keep on turning. For 1 red and 1 colors and tap and sacrifice the Magus of the Wheel, each player discards a hand and then draws 7 cards. Reforge the Soul. 5 mana to wheel is really, really bad, but if you can miracle it, it'll only cost you 2 converted mana, so not so bad. Ignite the Future's not really a wheel, but this is kind of free cards, I guess, sort of, for the flashback cost. 3 colors and 1 red for a sorcery. Exile the top 3 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, you may play cards this way without paying the mana cost. That makes them free. And look, I know this cost, but Underworld Breach allows you to play it from your graveyard. Next up, we have some extra bonus damage. Dorbrand, Thane of the Red Fell for 4 mana for a 2/4 Legendary Dwarf Noble. If a red source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals 2 extra damage. Attacking creatures you control have double strike, says Berserker's Onslaught. Avatar of Laughter, because you can't have slaughter without laughter, so don't at me in the comments. All creatures have double strike and attack each turn if able. Big 8/8 stupid thing. Angrath's Marauders. This is 7 mana for a 4/4 human pirate. That's terrible, except if a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. We want to take advantage of that, so we need to have extra attack steps. Combat Celebrant, 1 red and 2 colors. If Combat Celebrant hasn't been exerted this turn, you can exert it as it attacks, and when you do, untap all other creatures you control, and after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Relentless Assault, 2 colors, 2 red, untap all creatures that attack this turn. After this main phase, there is an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. Hellkite Charger, Flying Haste for 6 at a 5/5. Whenever Hellkite Charger attacks, you can pay 7 mana, and if you do, untap all attacking creatures, and after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Breath of Fury, Enchantment, 2 colors and 2 red, enchant a creature you control. When enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it, attach the Breath of Fury to a creature you control, and if you do, untap all creatures you control, and after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Ew. Big Pig, Hakuma Matata Ilhag, the Raise Boar for 5 mana, you get a 6/6 with Trample, and whenever the Raise Boar attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking, return that creature to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. If you get your boar, killed, that's fine, it goes 3 from the top, you don't have to worry. Next up, we've got some weird incidentals that we can use. The first one is a Backdraft Hellkite. 3 colors and 2 red for a 4/4 Flying Dragon. Whenever Backdraft Hellkite attacks, each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until the end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. Much better than you might think it is. We have Duplicant, Imprint for 6. When Duplicant enters the battlefield, you can exile target non-token creature. So it's basically exile removal, let's say against, other gods maybe. As long as a card exiled with Duplicant is a creature card, Duplicant has the power, toughness, and creature types of the last creature exiled with Duplicant. It's still a shapeshifter. Opportunistic Dragon is going to be taking this opportunity to steal your opponent's permanents. Flying 4/3, when it enters the battlefield, choose target human or artifact an opponent controls. For as long as the dragon remains on the battlefield, gain control of that permanent. It loses all abilities and it can't attack or block. Inferno Titan, 4 colors and 2 red. For a single red, it gets +1/+1 until the end of turn, so that's kind of relevant. For a 6/6, and whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, it deals 3 damage divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 targets. Speaking of dealing damage to targets, we've got a Thundermaw Hellkite. This is 3 colors and 2 red for a Flying Hasty Dragon, 5/5. When Thundermaw Hellkite enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each creature with flying your opponent's control. Tap those creatures. Speaking of dragons, Drakuseth Maw Flames. This is really expensive at like 7 mana for a 7/7. When Drakuseth Maw of Flames attacks, it deals 4 damage to any target, and then 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets. Eternally the Primal Scream, which is funny because that's an Australian band, wasn't it? Primal Scream, that's why I was making the joke. Anyway, whenever Atali Primal Storm attacks, exile the top card of each player's library, then you may cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. I like stealing cards for free. Speaking of stealing cards, we've got Hellkite Tyrant. This is Flying Trample 6/5 Dragon. Whenever Hellkite Tyrant deals combat damage to a player, gain control of all artifacts that player controls at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control 20 or more artifacts, you win the game. Artifact decks, beware, we've got an alt-win condition against you. Balefire Dragon. Whenever Balefire Dragon deals combat damage to a player, it deals that much damage to each creature that player controls. That's great when you're doing double strike. Yusei, the Fallen Star. It's just when it dies, it deals 5 damage to each creature without flying, so I guess it's kind of a board wipe. Alright, so we've got all that down pat, but what else do we need to look at? How about ways to abuse Purphoros' little known triggered fun? So basically, as you know, that at the end of the turn, you have to sacrifice that creature that you put into play. Not anymore. So we've got Reality Scramble. This is 2 colors and 2 red. Put target permanent you own on the bottom of your library. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a card that shares a card type with that permanent. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. Retrace. You can cast this from your graveyard by discarding a land, in addition to paying its other costs. We, of course, have a Chaos Warp, which is 2-sided. You can use this as removal, obviously, if you really need to. The owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library and then reveals the top card of their library. If it's a permanent card, they put that card onto the battlefield. Stalking Vengeance, hilariousness, 5 colors and 2 red for a creature avatar 5/5 with haste. Whenever another creature you control dies, it deals damage equal to its power to target player to the face holes. Following the third path, this little human artificer is amazing. 2 colors and 1 red and tap. Create a token that's a copy of target creature card in your graveyard, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Speaking of shutting down your commander before you have to sacrifice, we have Sundial the Infinite. This should be a no-brainer. 1 colors and tap, end the turn. Activate this ability only during your turn. Exile all spells and abilities on the stack, discard down to your maximum hand size, damage wears off, and this turn and until the end of turn effects, go bye-bye. Ponderous Closet. This is a really cool artifact as well. At the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. So, stack triggers. Cauldron of Souls, because why not? Tap and choose any number of target creatures. Each of those creatures gain persist until the end of turn. That means when it dies, if it had no -1/-1 counters, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it. We're almost done with this. This deck is shaping up to look really cool. Next up, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you don't have to cast it, just when it enters. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. Warstorm Surge is cool. Direfleet Daredevil. 1 colors and 1 red first strike. When it enters the battlefield, exile target instant or sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. You can spend mana as many of any type to play it. If it would be put into a graveyard this turn, exile. Flame Shadow Conjuring is pretty cool. 3 colors and 1 red for a cool enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can pay 1 red, and if you do, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. That token gains haste. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step. So, we've got one last card here that we should really talk about, and that is Underworld Breach, because Underworld Breach is actually much better than people give it credit for. I mean, we all know it's kind of busted, but we don't really know how busted it can be, or how many stupid, gross things it can do. or, maybe at the end of the game, how it might be able to help you just close out the game. I mean, you've got a whole heap of stuff in here that you maybe want to replay so you can attack somebody, or if something just dies and you don't want to put it back into your deck, or if you just maybe want to get in that extra relentless assault, Underworld can actually do that for you. The breach is real. At the end of the day, though, this has been Purphoros, bronze-blooded. Look at that hammer! Thanks! I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and share this around. I have to say that. I know you're sick of it. YouTubers say this shit all the time, but you know what? That's because we have to, because if people don't, no one watches our videos and stuff, and share it with your friends. We have some cool stuff coming up, so keep your eyes out. Thanks to Wizards, we have a special video series that we did on a big draft of Theros Beyond Death, so that's really cool. And I have some stuff in the pipeline that's coming in April that I can't tell you about yet. That's really exciting. So you want to hit that subscribe button and that little bell icon so that you can keep up to date. I've been Chesh. Love you all. Have fun. Enjoy playing Commander.